It was a morning like any other in Casardis. I, Yulgar the dwarf, was doing my morning walk, just to see the sun peeking over the horizon, painting everything with hues of gold. A sight like this makes you forget about all of your problems, and just appreciate the moment. But as I turned around, I heard some guards spreading rumors about a dragon prowling the skies, and the Duke himself is in need of people to get rid of the fell beast. I could not believe such a creature was capable of existing. I've only heard of it in fairy tales. Giant, ancient red monsters, flying through the skies with ease, eating and destroying everything. Nothing can stop its mighty rage. But oh, how wrong I was. I got distracted by the sight of my dear friend Kina, but it was quickly interrupted by very strong winds. As I was gazing at the horizon, I didn't want to believe my eyes. I saw a giant red behemoth making its way to the village. As it was flying over the dock, it started destroying it with its wings, and chaos quickly took over everyone and everything. The guards were so scared for their dear lives that they left us without hesitation. People were panicking, kids were crying. But I couldn't just stand there and do nothing. Then I saw a dropped sword on the ground. I rushed towards it, grabbed it, and went to face the dragon myself. The monster landed on the beach and started spreading its fiery breath, destroying everything in its way. But I couldn't allow this anymore. I swung at the dragon's leg, in hopes of distracting it even for a second. And it kinda worked, as I flew 3 screens away to my certain death. But I wasn't all for nothing. The dragon couldn't believe I managed to actually stab him with my pathetic sword. His eyes filled with rage. I saw him coming closer and closer. I thought this was the end. But then, the mighty beast started speaking a language I could not understand, after which he took his gigantic claw and pierced my chest. Then I saw my heart being taken away right in front of my eyes. I almost passed out from all the bleeding, and with my last breath, I saw the dragon consuming my heart. Then I fainted from all the blood loss. After an unknown amount of time, I woke up in my bed and I sensed the same dragon voice talking to me from my chest. This time, I understood what he was saying.
Take up arms, know everything.
And that is exactly what I planned to do. I went and grabbed myself a sword and shield, just like a real fighter. As I was walking out, I heard Kina talking to her father about how I was alive, but my heart was silent. After she took notice of me, she told me she was worried about me, but I needed some time for myself. I went to the local armory, bought myself some skull belts and some budget griefs, since I didn't have much gold, and I gotta say, they suit me pretty well. Afterwards, I went to the local inn, grabbed myself some food for the upcoming journey, but when I was at the gate, I saw a mysterious man appear from some kind of rift. He looked at me, and his hand was glowing the same way my chest was glowing earlier. Kina's dad explained to me that this man is from the Pawn's Legion, and that they lack emotions and cannot act alone. That is why they are called pawns. He also told me of an encampment found west of the village, where men gathered to face the dragon, and there might be more of his kind there. I wanted to learn more, so I asked the pawn's name. He told me it was Rook, and together our adventure began. On the road, we encountered a man being threatened by a couple of goblins, so we rushed to help. After dealing with all of the goblins, we made sure the man was unhurt, and he was so thankful that he awarded me with a leather cape. I was really happy about that, so I wore it with pride. After a bit walking later, we finally reached the encampment. Inside, I heard a group of people talking inside my head, calling me Arisen. There was a big tent with a strange stone inside of it. The tent was guarded by a woman named Mercedes and Egbal, the innkeeper. I quickly went inside to investigate the stone further. The voices were actually the Pawn Legion that Kina's dad was talking about. They told me that this rift serves as a gate that connects my world to theirs, and it only opens to the Arisen, where they possess a will powerful enough to guide the Legion. But first, I needed to prove myself in order to become this Arisen. They gave me a task to complete outside the encampment's walls. As I was on my way, I saw a couple of guards rushing outside as well, so I quickly followed them. When me and Rook arrived, we saw a huge cyclops with a couple of goblins rampaging and murdering all of the guards, and the creature seemed to have a weird glowing eye symbol on its head. I decided to deal with the goblins first, but the Cyclops seemed to help me with that, after which I grabbed to his butt and started beating it with my sword. Not long after, the creature lost balance and I started slicing its throat, and that was the end of the Cyclops. The symbol on its head probably meant someone or something was controlling it and made it attack the encampment. Then we both rushed back. The Pawn Legion told me that I've proven myself worthy of being the Arisen without a doubt. Then they made me choose a companion for the journey ahead, and not long after, my wished partner arrived. My long-lost older brother Morgrim greeted me, and I was more than happy to see him. And thus is how my path as the Arisen all began. I wanted to equip my brother with better gear, so we went back to Casardis. By the time we arrived, it was already nighttime. As we got in the village, a mysterious figure approached us.
Returns. Are you come to lead the pawns in a quest to slay the dragon? Those equivocal husks. Will or nill, the Arisen is always drawn to the dragon, as puppets strung in fate's own thread. Many have come before you, eager to stand tall atop the grand capstone of worldly truth that is the dragon. Arrogance. The dragon is ever born anew into the world, and with it too, the Arisen. All Arisen seek out the dragon, but lucky are the few who attain an audience with the beast, while yet they live. Ours is a weak, fragile world, and little within it is more frail than man. In yon encampment they gather up their knights and hired steel. They think to grow their numbers and hunt the dragon. But they shall soon learn their lot will e'er be as prey.
I didn't let that old guy bother me in the slightest, so I went to talk to the guard right next to this old well. He told me he had hidden in that well when the dragon came, but when he was inside, he was too scared to go any deeper in. He felt something evil was in there, so I decided to investigate myself. He gave me a lantern, and down the well we went. When we were inside, it seemed more like a cave than a regular well. There were a couple of big rats and bats, but when we got to the end, there were lizard men sleeping in the dark waters, so I jumped without hesitating. As we were killing one of them on the ground, his friend stabbed me, and the third one almost ended my life. That made me think we weren't quite ready to defeat them, so I made a tactical retreat. As I approached the closed door, a couple of poisonous snakes attacked me. After I killed them, I saw that only my brother was still with me. I wanted to go back for Rook, but the lizard men were approaching. I destroyed the wooden plank and then ran to find a way out. I finally found the exit, but when I was on the other side, I was all alone. I've lost both Rook and my brother. It was really dark, so I lit my lamp and went to get help. But as I was walking, a pack of wolves attacked me right in the face and started chewing on me. As soon as I got up, I started defending myself, but there were too many of them, so I decided to bail and try to climb somewhere where they cannot reach. I climbed these big rocks with the hopes of escaping, but somehow the wolves could jump really high. Then I ran into another rock where I could at least try and pick them off one by one, but they all decided to jump together, so I started slicing them with my sword. I actually started killing them until the alpha pack leader joined the fight. I knew if I defeated him, the rest would run away. I got him in a pinch and absolutely destroyed him. Then, as planned, the rest ran away. I jumped down and started heading to the camp. When I got there, the first person I wanted help from was Mercedes. She offered me to rest first, since I looked really beaten up, so I agreed. Just when I thought I can take a break, the guards running all over the place woke me up. When I looked back, I saw why they were running. A giant snake head. It attacked me in quick succession, but I managed to dodge it in the last second. Then, when I looked again, I realized it wasn't one snakehead. Those were 5 snakeheads. It was a Hydra. They immediately attacked and tried eating one of the guards, but I managed to save him. Then I rushed to cut one of its heads. As I climbed further, I had to drop myself since it wanted to destroy the watchtower, and it did like it was some kind of toy. After which, one of the heads literally ate me, but she ain't having this dwarf for breakfast. Mercedes then called me in the back, passing me an explosive barrel, which I grabbed and threw at the monster's mouth. And to my surprise, it actually ate it. Now I just had to make it explode somehow. I climbed and started slicing its head. Not long after, its head went flying and the monster retreated. The cut head boarded me one last time before dying for good, and revealing the same symbol I saw on the Cyclops. Mercedes and the guards were really impressed by what I did. She actually advised me to make a gift of the head to the Duke, and I might earn myself a real title. So she took the head and her men and waited for me at the Way Castle. Before I joined them, I went to see the stone if I can get Rook and Morgrim back. I actually revived my brother, but no sign of Rook was found. So I decided to get in the rift myself. There I met Tiffany and Wallace, and together we continued our journey. We went back to Casardis to finish what we started and maybe save Rook. It was time for round 2. This time we were prepared more than ever and started slaying the beasts one by one. At the end, we were victorious. I started exploring the cave in hopes of saving our fallen brother in arms, but the only thing I found was a couple of spiders partying on a table. When we came back to Casardis, I reported our victory to the guard, and he was full of happiness that he could finally sleep in peace. Afterwards, I went to the inn to get some rest. In the morning, I was met by a blonde woman named Madeline. She wanted me to escort her to the encampment, and since I had to go there anyway, I took upon her request. But before that, I went to the armory and bought myself a trusty sword, a pelta shield, and then we headed to the encampment. We managed to escort her with no problems whatsoever. The problem came when she asked a dwarf for money, 1,000 gold to be precise. As every dwarf would do, I unpolitely declined. After which I continued with my quest to meet Mercedes. A bit of walking later, we finally met. We opened the gate and all of us continued with our journey together. As we were traveling, we encountered some goblins, which we easily defeated. As we got higher, we encountered some harpies, which were no threat at all as well. As we continued climbing, I saw a suspicious big rock on top of the hill. As I walked past it, it actually started falling towards the others, so I tried to go and warn them, but it was too late. Luckily, it was just an illusion to scare us, so I destroyed it with only 2 swings. Then encountered some more gobbles, so I gouged their eyes out, opened the gate, and even more of them came, but we easily destroyed them. We were almost at the end. I could feel it. And I was right. I could see the Duke's kingdom from here. Gran Soren. Finally, this long walk would be over. It took us almost a full day of traveling to get here. When we got in, Mercedes told me that she would go and report to the Duke about what happened with the Hydra immediately. But there was also another person that wanted to talk to me. His name was Mason, and he advised me to know more about the pawns if I want to know more about my destiny. I didn't know where to go, so I asked the innkeeper for directions. He said he would gladly help me, and that the pawn guild was west from here. I thanked him and went on my way. As I followed his directions, I finally found the Pawns Guild. In there, a pawn named Barnaby welcomed me. He told me that this guild is a place of rest for pawns and is a gate to the Everfall, which is a place that lies beneath Gran Soren, and it's of great importance to the pawns. In that matter, he begged me for my assistance for something, so I accepted. Then he brought me to some kind of dungeon entrance and unlocked it. He told me that the Everfall lies beyond, and that ever since the dragon came, a strange aura has filled it, some kind of presence. So he wanted me to investigate it. I saw that it was really important for him, so I went there immediately. The first thing I saw when I first entered was how deep this place was, but I didn't let that bother me. The skeletons that started rising up did a bit. It's a good thing my brother was very good at dealing with them. As we went deeper, even more undead attacked us. Some stabbing and explosions later, we managed to kill them. Not long after, I found a lever, which seemed to close the gate behind me, but opened the next one. We had to deal with a bit more skeletons, but teamwork is the dream work. What got me worried was the monstrosity hidden in the dark. I wanted to have the upper hand, so I rushed in to surprise it. As I was on its back, it swung at Tiffany and Wallace and crushed them to the ground, so I had to jump off and save them. Then I mounted him once again, but he was having none of that. Being the stubborn dwarf I was, I grabbed on his butt and started slicing it. He didn't enjoy it one bit, so he threw me off yet again. As revenge, the ogre also tried jumping on me this time, but I dodged it right below his crotch, a benefit of being a dwarf. A couple more slices and the ogre was finally toast. Afterwards, we finally reached the bottom. I saw a shiny crystal, so you already knew what I did with it. Then, I had a look around and saw a passage in the wall, so I decided to enter it. But what we found inside were undead mages that destroyed Tiffany, so I quickly jumped towards one of them and stabbed it so hard it flew straight down. The second one blasted me right as I was jumping, almost making me fall. So I gave him a good kick to teach him some manners. After which I went back to get Tiffany and Wallace and even got some gold. Then I got back to where I found the crystal, because there was something strange illuminating from the floor. As I touched the light, some weird looking tentacles started appearing. I immediately started cutting them down. The more I was killing them, the more they were spawning. One of them also tried eating me. Luckily, I got saved by Tiffany. After which I decided our best move would be to make a tactical retreat, but the tentacles kept appearing. There was no use fighting them. We had to run. After the biggest sprint of my life, we finally managed to escape this tentacle hell. I came back to Barnaby and told him about the strange light. He didn't know much of it, so I decided to look for more information, but I was interrupted by a local guard. He told me that the Duke was impressed by the Hydra's head and that I am accepted in the worm hunt. Someone by the name of Sir Maximilian is the captain of the hunt and he gives the orders. So I went around looking for him and found an interesting shop named the Black Cat. There I found fairy stones that allow me to teleport to the crystal I took earlier, as well as to the city itself. After that, I went to check the local armory and they were selling a big two-handed hammer. I could finally become the dwarf I was meant to be. So I bought the hammer, a new helmet, some armor, some boots, and oh boy was I feeling like a real dwarf already. Then I decided to retire Tiffany and Wallace and got myself Goblin and Rowan. After all that, I finally found Sir Maximilian. He gave me the choice of 5 tasks. I chose to defeat a horde of goblins that struck a fortress while it was under repair, and they claimed it as their own. I couldn't wait to try out my new equipment and my new buddies. After a whole day of walking, we found an entrance in the mountain with a person patrolling it. I talked to him and he told me that he needed to travel through the mine, but he couldn't open the gate. So I took manners in my own hammer. As we entered, it didn't seem like an abandoned mine, and I was right. Bandits have taken over the place. The perfect opportunity to test my new hammer in real action. And let me tell you, it was amazing. We then opened another gate, and as we were walking, it smelled like danger in there. A big ogre was living here and he didn't want us in his lair, so he smacked me right in the spine. After that, I started smashing his legs so he can lose balance. It was quite effective until I ate an uppercut to the chin. When I got up, I went to rescue Goblin and Rowan, after which I went for the final blow. But as I was escaping, the ogre grabbed me and started squishing me, but an arrow through the chest finished him off just in time. And just when I thought it was over, we found another ogre, so I approached it as it didn't see us immediately. It then wanted to squish me by doing some kind of WWE move, but I was able to jump right in time. After which it was so mad, he looked me straight in the eyes and literally drop kicked my soul out of my body. As I came back to get my revenge, it did the same move, but I got 2 dwarves with 1 stone. A bit fighting later, the ogre was finally defeated, and I decided to explore more of its lair and found yet another ogre. I guess the whole family was living here. So a couple of more WWE moves and another uppercut to the chin, we killed the last ogre in the cave. Then we finally found the exit. I made sure the coast was clear, then headed back to tell the man it was safe to pass. He was so happy, he actually gave me some gold for my troubles. After which we went to the other side again and continued with our mission to save the fortress. A bit more traveling and we finally arrived at the Shadow Fort. Inside I spoke with Sir Robert, whose plan was to strike from the front gate, but needed me to pass through a hole and open the gate from within. So I jumped in the hole, and at the end of it, we found some goblins that were around a campfire, so I sent them flying. There was also a hobgoblin with them, who was way bigger than me, so I held him, and my team finished him off. Then we climbed the stairs to the top, defeated more goblins, but we headed outside since we didn't find a way to open the gate. We climbed the ladder on the other side, hammered a couple of more gobbles. There were also ballistas firing at us, and one of them almost hit me, but it destroyed the ballista on our side instead. So I went out on the field to try and reach them, but I quickly realized the fort was guarded by an armored cyclops and even more goblins. We went back to think of a plan, but the ballistas blasted Rowan and my brother, so I went to save them and saw there were actually 2 cyclopses, not 1. Started killing the gobbles first while dodging the explosions. One of them tried running away, but nobody escapes an angry dwarf. Then I began smacking one of the cyclopses' toes. He couldn't handle the hammer and fell on his knees. I continued doing the same tactic again and again until it fell once more, followed by more hammering, and eventually it got bonked to its death. Then I used the same strategy with the other Cyclops, and we managed to defeat it with ease. On the side, I found another small ladder, so I decided to check it out. There, I found a door that led to some kind of cellar. As I got in, I saw a couple of more goblins chilling, so I sneaked by and grabbed myself another crystal, after which of course I smacked them to death and actually found a lever that opens the Shadow Fort gate. I climbed through a small tunnel and went to open the gate. As it opened, all of the guards started rushing in. Pure chaos overtook the battlefield, so we started helping out as well. When the goblins realized they were losing, they started retreating to the fortress and calling reinforcements for help. Ain't no pesky goblin escaping a dwarf like me. I went there and started smacking them left and right, after which I climbed the stairs to the top and there was yet another armored Cyclops. I began blasting the goblins first, then I went for the Cyclops' toes, which made him fall like his other deaf brothers. He almost slapped me away from the fort. I can't say my brother had the same luck though. Not long after, Rowan had the same fate. Luckily for us, we killed it before we had any other casualties. I rushed down and got both Morgrim and Rowan up, then got up again and I got to kill the freaking ballistas. It was a beautiful kill. After that, we went in and found their goblin boss. It took me exactly 2 hammer smacks to get him begging for mercy. He ranted for a bit, after which he made a main villain getaway. Then we went out and celebrated our victory. I also put a crystal in front of the fort and then teleported back to Grand Soren. I reported back to Sir Maximilian and he rewarded me with a bunch of gold, after which I took on the quest to aid a research team with investigating the water god's altar. He gave me the needed directions, but before I went on this journey though, I equipped this cool looking wolf helm, after which I retired Rowan and Goblin and found Diana and this big fella by the name of Stekeke. It took us a while, but we finally managed to find the person we were looking for, standing next to a waterfall. He told me he was sent to survey the ruins with brother Jean, but he had gone on ahead without him, since he was too scared to go in. So he asked me to find him and get him out of there, and that's exactly what I planned to do. As we got in, we saw there was a door on our right, but it needed some kind of sphere in order to open. So we went looking around and saw a skeleton that immediately ran away when it saw us. It actually wasn't alone, but it didn't really matter. We even found some gold they were hiding. Then I tried going down these stairs, but the bottom was filled with water. The main path was also in water. I found this ladder that wasn't, so I went to investigate. Deeper inside, we found a couple of lizard men, so we had to interrupt their peace. As we did that, a stone door opened and even bigger lizard men came to greet us. As a gentleman myself, I did the same thing. Inside, there was a chest containing a lever. I grabbed it and used it on the main path that was underwater, and a bridge appeared from the ceiling. When we crossed, some skeletal mages started giving us the heat, so I gave them my hammer. They were guarding a really big ancient room, and at the end of it, a huge Cyclops was waiting. You already know my strategy. When it died, a red sphere dropped from its mouth. Maybe it was for the door we saw in the beginning. The sad part is, we found brother Jean obliterated by the Cyclops. Before we reported the bad news, we had to see what was behind the door with the sphere. Inside we found more lizard men, undead that looked pretty dead to me, after which we went further down, and at the bottom we fought some kind of phantasms. They tried possessing Stekeke, so I had to go and smack his head to save him. Some fighting later, we dealt with all of the phantasms. We found a chest containing some kind of altar slate, which I could not read. On our way out, we had to deal with another Cyclops. It immediately bitch slapped me in the water, so I had to come back and smash its butt cheeks. Then we managed to finally escape and tell the bad news to Hazlitt. He didn't want brother Jean's death to be in vain, so he begged us to find all of the other altar slates so he can decipher them. So we went back, found all of the remaining slates, and returned them before darkness came, after which we all headed back to Grand Soren. We reported back to Maximilian, after which he told us that the Duke has granted me an audience since we helped the city so much. Finally, I've earned the respect of the Duke himself. As I opened the doors to his castle, I was greeted by a jester.
Your knight leaves the humble shores of home for the heady depths of court. Pray, let this token from humble Festi garner favor with the leviathans within. Oh, tut, no time for thanks, friend. The Duke awaits. Sail on, dear knight, sail on.
Look at the brave knight. Look at this kid.
I fear your crown outshines my own. By my command, every road in Grancis shall be open to you henceforth as a member of the Worm Hunt. May your efforts help deliver us from the shadow of the dragon. As long as that damnable beast draws breath, I'll fain accept any help on offer. All right.
As I was leaving the castle, one of the Duke's men and his guards stopped me. His name was Aldous, the Duke's Chamberlain. He told me that the Duke wasn't feeling very well, so he is in charge with assigning royal orders, tasks of great import, issued by the Duke himself. A bit later, I met him in the castle, where he gave me my first royal order to help his elite men defeat a new big threat. A griffin. They were waiting for me outside the castle gate, so I ran as quickly as possible. Outside, I met Sir George and his soldiers. His plan was to attack the griffin when it lands. A brilliant one indeed. So we all adventured together to find the griffin. When we reached the top of the mountain, everybody hid and started waiting for the beast to come. I couldn't just sit there and wait, so I took matters in my own hands again. I grabbed the goblin I killed and put it as bait. Not long after, the griffin finally arrived, so we started executing our plan. I made a big jump to climb on its head and started smacking it, but I lost my grip and took a big fall to the ground, after which the beast retreated, a smart move indeed. We split up with the guards so we can find the griffin faster. We were traveling even after dark, and we got ambushed by a pack of wolves. It was a really big pack actually. I found an explosive barrel and blasted their pack leader. By the time we dealt with them, the sun was almost over the horizon. As we were walking, some boulders started rolling behind us, which was really suspicious. After a while, we discovered where they came from, a bunch of bandits hidden in the mountain pass. One of them started running, but he was actually baiting us into his friends. They weren't really a problem though, but I can't say the same about what came next. As we were killing a harpy, I turned around and saw a giant stone golem ready to smash my friends. I quickly climbed it and started hitting its glowing purple balls, which seemed like his weak spots, and it was super effective as he fell down on the ground in no time. I kept hitting the spots, and as he started getting up, I quickly used the moment to climb him again. I then destroyed the butt crystal and he immediately fell on his knees. This time, the golem looked like he was done for, but he entered some kind of rage state. He also started shooting lasers at me, but there was no time for hesitation. I had to finish it off, and one by one, I destroyed all of his crystals, and the mighty golem was successfully defeated. I didn't realize I was left alone, and almost all of my companions were dead. As I got up, I saw that a bunch of more bandits were terrorizing them. I quickly gave them a taste of my hammer, and then looted their camp at the top. Then I looked at all the distance we have traveled. I could see the castle from here, and that gave me even more motivation to continue. Not long after, we reached the Griffin's Nest, the Blue Moon Tower. My heart was pumping from excitement. When we entered, I had a feeling something bad has happened here. We met one of the elite soldiers, and he told us that more of his men were fighting ahead, so we rushed to help them as fast as possible. As we went through this iron door, we saw one of the soldiers as well as the griffin itself. I tried hammering it, but it dodged my attack. I then saw a couple of soldiers trying to open a gate. With one swing, I was able to do the job, and we started running, since we were too exposed. The next gate had to be opened from the other side, so I quickly made my way there and opened it for everyone. Then the griffin had enough and started destroying everything around. I jumped on its back leg and started climbing it, but it made a dive attack right into the final gate. We took the opportunity and ran for our lives. We managed to escape, but not without casualties. We've lost Diana. We had to kill this mighty beast for her sake. When we got to the top, more soldiers were already fighting the griffin, so we joined as well. As it was flying, it started doing some kind of lightning attacks, but my brother quickly set its feathers on fire and it fell down to the ground. This was the perfect moment for me to smash its skull in. It wasn't really happy with me, so it started stomping me with its big claw, but a couple of fireballs to the face let me escape its mighty attack, after which I started smashing its claws, and with one last attack, the griffin was defeated once and for all. I grabbed the treasures it was defending and then teleported back to Grand Soren. Then we visited the inn to get some well-earned rest. As morning came, I rushed to report our victory to Aldous. He was more than happy, so happy that he gave me another task, to gather evidence for an important trial. The person being on trial is Fornival, one of the most wealthiest of Grand Soren's merchants. He has been accused of a litany of crimes, such as fraud, abduction, and selling secrets, so I had to collect evidence of his doings. He gave me a couple of days to gather as much information as I could. Before I did that, I had to give Stekeke a well-deserved retirement and got some fellow dwarfs named Thorim and Helena, after which we went looking for evidence. We found this Fornival guy, and surprise surprise, he said he was innocent and begged me to get him out of the situation. But I let the people be the judge of his faith. I asked the city's priest first. He said he was innocent in his eyes and signed my petition. Then I asked Sir Dario at Windbluff Tower, which was near Grand Soren. He also agreed he was innocent. Then we headed out on a journey to the Great Wall encampment, which was a couple of days on foot from here. On our way, we had to deal with a couple of lizardmen hiding in a river, a cyclops that was sleeping on the road, and even our first chimera found in the forest. I didn't know what to do, so I grabbed to the goat's head and started beating it up. It seemed quite effective as the monster started rolling on the ground. I kept doing that until the goat head was defeated. Not long after, my team killed the snake tail, and finally, the lion didn't stand a chance to our dwarven teamwork. Just as we thought we could get some rest, a couple of bandits ambushed us. As we started killing them, some of them yelled to get back to the hideout, which was probably that fort at the top. But to get there, we had to deal with bandits that have enslaved their own cyclops. It didn't matter though, since we were too experienced in fighting them. When we got to the fort, of course it was closed, so we had to go around and defeat the last of the bandits. As we were traveling in the darkness, another chimera approached us. I used the same strategy as before, starting with the goat head, then the snake, and shortly after the chimera was toast. A bit later, I noticed some phantasms were roaming this place, so I quietly opened the chest that was near us, and oh my god, I found a hammer, and it looked pretty cool as well. Sadly, these ghosts couldn't be damaged by it unless they possessed someone, so I let my brother have all the fun this time. A bit more walking later, and we finally arrived at the Great Wall encampment. We noticed there were some tents, so we decided to rest for the night. As morning came, we went to talk to the person we were looking for. He actually didn't tell me his opinion, but what he did was give me a very special deal to purchase affidavits of guilt or innocence. At first, I didn't want to buy anything, but we traveled all this way and I didn't want it to be for nothing. So I bought one affidavit of innocence, since the rest voted for that as well. After which, I teleported us back to Grand Soren. I released Thorim and Helena, since we had a really long journey and they deserved a well-earned rest, and hired myself Mazoga and Faith. Then I gave all the evidence to Aldous and waited for Judgment Day to come.
In the name of His Grace, Duke Edmund Dragonsbane, the court hereby proclaims its verdict. Not guilty. You are cleared of all charges and released from bondage forthwith. The inquest is hereby ended.
As we all expected, he was proven innocent, so I went back to have a talk with Aldous once again. He didn't like the outcome, but the decision was made fair and square. He then awarded me appropriately and assigned me another task, to assist Sir Mercedes with something. I had to know what she had in mind, so I went to talk to her. Turns out, she wanted to prove herself, as she was not only a Duke's Knight, but also the daughter of the Heartstone's Lord. There were rumors about dark things happening at the Windbluff Tower, and someone by the name of Lord Julian might be in charge of them, so she felt it was her duty to go and see what was going on. I respected her bravery, so I agreed to watch her back. She told me she would wait for me there. As we arrived, men were fighting all over the place. I couldn't see Mercedes anywhere, so I went looking for her. As I turned around the corner, I saw her running to somewhere, so I followed her.
Viper! You colluded with Salvation to work sedition among the Duke's men!
Salvation? You place me in ill company. I'm a man of this world. Fantasies of death and redemption concern me not one whit. Now, legends. Legends stoke up the masses. If Duke Edmund were to best a second dragon, Francis would take the ascendant. But her neighbors ill want a giant looming at their borders, am I wrong?
Spare me your sophistry. The word neighbor sours on your forky tongue. Our lands have long sworn unstinting aid to any neighbor beset by the dragon.
Unstinting, you say? Tell me then, why has your Lord Father not sent your brother, joined by Hearthstone's finest steel? Why am I speaking instead with a bleating she-goat mocked even by her own men?
You will retract those words, sir!
Else suffer what consequence?
Else I shall wash my honor clean in your blood!
And you? You will play her second? I would welcome the challenge.
Stay out of this! He's made an open mockery of me and my homeland!
I didn't want to interrupt their duel as it was her only chance to prove herself, but things didn't seem to go her way, as she was defeated in a fair duel.
Do it!
Your head is a meager trophy. The men of the fort may have use of you yet. Even a she-goat's skin can warm a desperate man of nights.
What? He's no slander beneath you?
The duel is well and settled, Arisen. Be gone from my sight at once.
I've no more patience to indulge your play at knighthood, little girl. Your failure to quell the revolt is cause enough to run home to Hearthstone, tail twixt your legs. I tell you this in the spirit of mercy. If you cannot best me, you cannot best the dragon. Run along home while you yet live. Do you think me cruel, Arisen? 'Tis a sorry truth that righteousness is a rare luxury in war. You are pledged to slay the worm, and that alone. No oath binds you to the Duke, nor would my death do you any great service. There are those might call me a monster, but I am no dragon, sir. What say you?
I must make a pitiable sight. I knew. I am a meager choice to send as aid. I know it well. Still, I could not.
I tried talking to her, and she admitted she was weak, so she decided to go back to her homeland, Hearthstone, and train to become stronger so she can help me with defeating the dragon. After which I reported back to Aldous yet again. He thanked me for keeping her safe, rewarded me with some gold, and gave me my final task, to recover the Duke's magical ring, as it was stolen a few days ago from someone within the castle, since it was heavily guarded. It's a symbol of the Duke's authority, so it must be found as soon as possible. I didn't know where to start looking, so I asked the man in front of the castle if he knew something. He told me there were rumors going around of a queerly dressed man hanging around in the mines we cleared earlier, so we went there to see what exactly was going on.
Well, well. The Arisen, toast of all grand Sorin. Does the work of all mankind's savior truly afford the time to go hunting petty thieves? If you insist on a game of cat and mouse, what say we see which role you'll fill?
I quickly showed him my hammer skills, which he couldn't handle.
The cat has claws, and more grip than the fools in the Duke's Guard, I'll grant. But alas, I've not the time for games, sir. Farewell.
so he created a firewall and escaped. I needed more clues of where he was going, so I asked a local merchant if he knew anything. He told me that there's been people gathering at the Blue Moon Tower after we defeated the Griffin. It wasn't much, but it was worth the try. When we got there, we were greeted by a bunch of bandits, so we quickly dispatched them. After we killed them, I looked back and saw that Faith has also fallen into the abyss. But we couldn't let that stop us. As we were climbing the tower, some pesky archers didn't stop shooting me with arrows, so I had to use my evasive maneuvers and of course my big fat hammer. As I was climbing even further, I noticed my brother has also fallen, and then the sorcerer started monologuing, but I was too pissed to listen to his bullshit. I tried smashing him immediately, but he teleported, so I started killing his undead minions. As I was eating a juicy uppercut, Mazoga managed to stab the sorcerer right in the chest.
Talisman!
I took the ring and teleported back to Grand Soren. When I got there, I hired Red Sonja and then gave back the ring to Aldous. He was so happy when he saw it, he almost fainted from happiness. As we were talking, a guard came and whispered something to Aldous. He received a report that one of the Duke's men has returned injured from a fire at the Southern Way Castle, and he wants to speak with me. I found this task odd, but I went to check nonetheless. When we arrived at the spot, we didn't see anybody that's injured, only a guard that was running full speed at us. He told us to come back to the capital and oh haste. I had a real bad feeling about this, so I teleported us back. There, we saw a huge cockatrice living rent-free in the fields. I immediately climbed the big chicken's leg and then hit it right in the throat, which proved very effective, as it fell from the sky right away. Then I smashed its chicken skull in. It didn't like it one bit, so it flew away. After which, I went to see if everyone in the castle was okay. Everything was in order, and the Duke himself wanted to see me for something. When I met him, he praised me for my good deeds and wanted to reward me. So I followed him to his treasury. There, he opened a chest with the ring we recovered and told me to take everything in this room. Being the dwarf I was, I gladly took everything. As I was looting all the goodies, a guard rushed in and told us that the Great Wall has fallen to a man calling himself the leader of salvation. The Duke ordered me to go there immediately and deal with the situation. It's a good thing I have a crystal there. When we arrived, everything was in flames, and some hooded people ran away as soon as they saw us, after which 2 armored cyclopses tried to scare us off. Unfortunately for them, we were already experts at killing their kind. We were also greeted by some undead, but I quickly sent them flying. Then I met the casters that were controlling them, so I gave them a taste of my large hammer. As we were exploring a tunnel, at the end we saw a chimera trying to kill some of our men, but they were hiding behind a door, since they were too scared to face the beast. So we gave it a beatdown instead, after which they finally opened the door for us to pass. As we climbed the staircase, we found a guard dueling an undead warrior, which we turned to an undead pancake. The guard told us that their leader is just beyond, so we rushed to slay him once and for all.
Ah, the Arisen. Welcome. It would seem our fates are closely bound. The honeyed sleep of destruction will find this place, and all the world in its turn. Indeed, the coming night ill needs us, its faithful harbingers. Just as you and your hubris cannot hope to stop the divine beast that mocked you. Before its might, you stand as useless and frail as this ungainly contrivance of brick and mortar. Nonetheless, the trice you might delay the dragon's coming is blasphemy just the same. I had brought my flock to see these walls reduced to dust. But first they shall peel the flesh from your bones, my dear Arisen.
Wanna know how I defeated them?
I fear I have misjudged the extent of your skill, dear Arisen. I see it was folly to worry of walls and armies while you still live. However, it seems my regret will be short-lived. Don't you feel it? The very air dances around us. The long night is come. The dragon's reign at last begins. Merciful winged death! All powerful and merciless Grigori! Behold, you unrepentant blasphemers! This is absolute truth! This is salvation!
The rantings of an up-jump zealot make for tedious listening. His ilk serves no role in what is to come. Only my death will staunch the flood of destruction, a task still far beyond your means. If you would face me, seek me out, and I shall allow it. But heed the zealot's lesson well. When the weak court death, they find it. Until then, I shall hold your little keepsake safe. Your dragon forged will speak for my diligence in that. The choice falls not to me, nor to the whims of fate. It is yours alone.
Luckily, I was the main character, so I got out uninjured. After this whole adventure, I teleported us back to Grand Soren, retired Red Sonja and Mazoga, and hired myself my last companions, Winter and Bigsby. Then I bought myself the best armor in the shop, as well as gauntlets and boots. I even bought my brother a new staff, after which we went on an adventure to find this so-called Dragon Forged. As we were exploring the wilderness, we saw a man sitting on top of some big rocks.
Him who knows that I know what he seeks to know, knows it well, while he who knows not what I know, or know not. You see me, yes?
Yeah, I do.
Then congratulations are due. You have found the man you seek. I am, or was, perhaps like you, a child of man, bound to the dragon. Well met, young Arisen. I am he who was forged by the dragon.
I needed to know more, so I talked to him inside his cave.
The hour is come, Arisen. The door lies open. Seek the temple atop the tainted mountain.
Beyond the Great Wall, at its pinnacle, in the shadow of the worm, keeper of the Endless Ring, you will make your choice. What you there become, only you can decide.
I listened to him and immediately went to the Great Wall and entered the path to the dragon. Thus you tread the path of all true Arisen, to face the dragon and learn the real truth. I couldn't wait to see this real truth, but there were some obstacles in the way that had to be dealt with after fighting a bunch of lizard men who got attacked by some succubus and fire-breathing dogs. We managed to kill them pretty easily, and as we were walking further in, we were greeted by a really dark chimera. It's a good thing we were experienced in killing them as well. Then we opened this huge gate, and what lied ahead was exactly what I was waiting for.
What is your purpose here, Arisen? If you sought to live, you had naught but run and hide yourself away. But then, tell me, child of man, what does it mean to live in truth? To wage war against the passing of days? To pray to the unseen for a few breaths more. To raise grand cities from stone and spawn new life in turn. Mankind has done this, yes, and more. But is the tapestry you weave truly of your own design?
We eat when hungry, and we sleep when tired of eating. We kill them as we want them dead.
Their kind is easy to fathom. They go on living from simple fear of death. But not mankind. Some welcome the end with arms outstretched, while others come to face death incarnate, arms in hand. I ask again, what is your purpose here, Arisen? One path to your survival lies in my defeat. Still my heart, and you stay the coming end. Another path before you is to offer up that which you hold most dear. Abandon all delusions of control. For the price of a single life, I shall leave this land in peace. As my vanquisher, the duchy would bow to you. Wealth and power are sweet anodyne for heartache. You'll not gainsay my terms are more than generous. If it matters aught, the man who rules this land now won that honor through just such a bargain. The decision is yours, Arisen. Now, choose.
I had to make a choice. Sacrifice Mercedes and the dragon will leave, or fight him in a glorious battle and finally retrieve what's mine. And you already know what I chose. The place was falling apart, so I told Mercedes to get away from here. And so, the final battle began. As I turned around, I saw that everyone was running away as well, so the only wise choice was to join them. But the dragon wouldn't let us escape that easily, so I had to run for my life. At the end, he got stuck, so I tried smashing his head, but he got really mad and started destroying the whole place. As I was charging in, I ate the biggest slap of my life, after which he wanted a more challenging fight, so he flew further ahead. We accepted the challenge, but he then ambushed us in the back. Things weren't looking too great as he was destroying the bridge. My team was already ahead of me, so I followed their lead. The dragon really wanted me dead, but I was a stubborn dwarf. After some running, I finally caught up. When we climbed the tower, I looked around for anything I could use, and I saw that there were ballistas, so I quickly went and shot the dragon right in the heart. He then charged me at full speed, so I decided to jump off the tower. It actually worked even better than I thought it would, since I landed on his back. He tried knocking me off by flying through a lot of harpies, then he tried going upward, but I kept on hanging as I finally reached his heart and hit it with my hammer. But it came at the cost of me losing my grip, so I started falling with him. I thought this was the end of me. He was charging with his mouth wide open, but as I was falling next to him, I felt my heart beating inside of him, as if we had some kind of connection, and we both started falling from the sky straight to the ground. This was it, the final battle, all or nothing. I tried going straight for the heart, but he quickly showed me it wasn't a good idea, as he almost burned me to ashes. So I tried climbing to his back and started hitting him in the wings. He countered my attacks by flying away and landing on top of a ruined tower. I knew he was planning something, so I quickly took cover behind a big rock. He threw a fireball at me, but the boulder was too solid for it to harm me. I then started rushing the left flank, since I saw some ballistas there. I quickly grabbed onto one, and as I was about to shoot him, he destroyed it with another fire attack. I climbed to the very top. This time, I was faster than ever. I took aim and shot him in the heart again. He didn't like it one bit, so he had to move, but flying didn't help him since I had perfect dwarven aim, and the beast finally fell to the ground. I yet again climbed his back and started damaging the wings, but he was really pissed at Bigsby for some reason, so he absolutely incinerated him. I went to save him as well as Winter, but the beast was staring right at me. I went for the ballista again, and just as he was about to blast me, I managed to outpace him and bring him down once more. As I went down, he grabbed my brother right in front of my eyes, and I knew I had to save him somehow, so I aimed for the heart with the hopes of him dropping more grim. It worked flawlessly, so I continued doing that until he felt really big pain and fell on his chest. I grabbed onto him and started going for his weak spot, but he took me like I was some kind of toy and smashed me into the ground. As I barely got up, I continued going for the heart. When he fell, I used the good old ground smash attack over and over and over again, and finally, the monstrosity couldn't take much more and accepted its defeat.
Stubborn child. Whatever meaning life holds, it makes men deaf to all reason. Heed me well, Arisen. In my death, you've won a future for this world. But what that future spells for you, for all men, is a truth you'll find staring back from this world's utmost depth. Arisen, you have earned back what is yours. Your life belongs now to no other. You've won it by rights. It is yours to use or cast away as you see fit. Remember that.
After the dragon turned to dust, we got outside and Mercedes was there waiting for us. We went to the camp for the night and have some rest, but Mercedes had other plans. As morning came, we started heading back home, but something in the air felt really wrong. After a long walk, we finally arrived at Casardas. I left Mercedes there and teleported us to Grand Soren. There, a guard came to me and said that the Duke wanted to meet me, so I did exactly that.
You met with the dragon. And don't think for a minute I don't know what you did then. I of all men. No human hands could fell that beast! No. You took the dragon's bargain! You conspired with it to wither me and usurp my seat as Duke! But you'll not be quit of me so easily!
So, the Duke has gone completely mad and wanted to kill me, so I gave him a couple of kicks, since I didn't want to hurt him.
What? Your Grace? What devilry is at work here? Devilry indeed. And high treason. This brigand has joined a covenant with the dragon and struck me with a curse. He will tell you the beast is dead. Lies! He has become its minion, spreading evil upon this land as upon its ruler. Just look upon the hellish wall that gapes where once our city stood, and tell me this is not the work of the dragon's dark magic. Seize this traitor at once!
And just like that, the whole castle was against me. I had to make my way through all of the guards, then escaped through the gate. On the other side, Sir Maximilian and his guards were waiting for me, but they were as weak as the others, after which I started running out of the city. But even more guards surrounded me, and I was cornered. Suddenly, an earthquake appeared, and dozens of monsters started coming from the ground.
Is a truth you'll find staring back from this world's utmost depth.
Or should I say, from the Everfall. It seemed like an endless loop. Then one harpy pushed me and I fell into the pit. As I was falling, I grabbed myself to one of the edges.
If you would heed my call, prove now your worth. Show that you've the strength to break the yoke that binds you.
There, I met a woman, which knew I was the Arisen. She gave me a wake stone, which is used to restore the dead to life. She told me she had it from her mistress, but she wasn't alive anymore. Her task was to gather 20 of them, and now she wants me to collect them for her, but she didn't tell me how or why. I didn't have much time to think, so I started following my heart, now that I actually had one. I entered the door, and this was the first of many chambers, the Chamber of Confusion. Inside, there was a one-eyed monster, with tentacles surrounding it. I tried hurting it with my hammer, but it had no effect. Then I went for the tentacles that were the same as the ones we faced before. I started smashing them one by one, until I had to help Bixby, which didn't end very well for me, since the monster ate me and started chewing me. Bixby's flashy cracker saved me back at the last second, and I was left with 1 HP. After that, I continued smashing its tentacles, until finally it exposed itself by eating Winter, so we started smacking it until it fell on the ground. It took me a couple of more smashes with my hammer, until it died forever. I found a couple of wake stones inside the monster, which was good, so I went looking for other chambers as well. I jumped in the pit again and grabbed myself to another ledge. There, I entered the Chamber of Apprehension. Inside, we found a chimera, which we killed with ease, and got some more wake stones. Then we jumped again and entered the Chamber of Distress. Inside, we found some kind of dragon, but a lot smaller than the one we killed before. I instantly grabbed to its heart and started stabbing it with my handle. It was super effective, and it didn't take us long to defeat it and take its wake stones. Then we entered the Chamber of Resolution, where a cockatrice was waiting for us. This time, there was no place to run, and it had the same fate as all other monstrosities. When I went outside to jump, I didn't manage to grab to a ledge, and confirmed that the pit was indeed a never-ending loop. After some more falling, we entered the hardest chamber of them all, the Chamber of Hesitation. There, we finally met the Hydra from the beginning of our journey. I've long awaited this fight. I tried the same strategy with climbing its head, but it immediately ate me. It's a good thing I'm pretty strong for my size. My second attempt was successful, but no matter how many heads I cut off, they kept growing back. I didn't have any other plan, so I sticked with climbing its head at the right time and just smash. A lot of smashing later, this disgusting monster finally went straight to hell, where it belonged. And with this, we collected all of the wake stones the pawn needed. We then returned to her. She told me I could use these wake stones to summon a rift of considerable power that shall guide me forward, and there is no turning back. I accepted my fate and used the wake stones. The rift has been created, so there was only one thing I could do. When I entered, I was surrounded by clouds, and in front of me there was a glowing figure sitting on a throne.
Well met, Arisen. I'll not waste time on rhetoric. Defeat me, and take my place as keeper of this world. You saw it awaiting you at the end of your descent. Aye. The same world you've traveled to arrive at this place. A world you may well now inherit. It is a simple proposition, no different than any you've faced. You need only the will to claim what is offered you. The will to survive.
And now, I had to fight literally God to show him my will to survive.
Consider the infinite potential. Just as you call forth pawns, so I command all life into existence. Call it divine creation if you must, but expect none of the mercy men seek in their gods. This is cold truth. The unbending reality of a world without compassion. The world and all its denizens are but empty vessels. In that regard, no different than the pawns. Without volition, there is no true life. The world falls stagnant, dead as an ocean with no current to guide it. That volition is tempered by the struggle for survival. The decision, just like yours, to fight. Just as the pawns need a master's command, so the world thirsts for the will to live.
I was really confused. This god created another version of me right before my eyes and killed it in an instant. How was I supposed to defeat him? Or the real question is, was I supposed to defeat him? I had no other choice but to fight and give it my best. And just when I thought I got him for good,
It is time to decide. Will you claim your right as arisen? Or shrug the burden and seek peace in oblivion? Just so. One foot after the next, come what may. That is what it means to live. Turn back now, and I will grant you a merciful death. The choice is yours, Arisen. Yours alone.
I had a choice to return back home and live a normal life just like before, or follow the path of becoming something more, something I was destined to be, a guardian of this world, overseeing the cycle of life and death. Everything happens for a reason, and this decision is also no coincidence. I could not go back. I had to accept my fate. Some illusions from the past tried stopping me, but my mind was clear and nothing could stop me continuing forward. Not even Mercedes, not even Kina, not even God himself.
You are close now. So very close to me.
Come, Arisen. I shall meet you on your own terms, joined by my own companions of old. You stand now at its end, Arisen. See your journey through.
It was me and my brother versus the Seneschal and his pawn. We gave it our best one last time.
World shivers for it. It's merciless, cold. Arisen, forgive me. All I've done is to test your will. It is the fate of all Arisen. You and I are swept up in the current, same as the rest. Each tempers the volition of the next, and the endless cycle continues. And so, until the coming of a new soul fit to craft the will to live, someone like you. Until that day, may you guide the world ever justly. I present you with the Godsbane Blade. Those who arise to oversee this world are undying, save by this brand's kiss. I ask that you, as the world's new Seneschal, use it now to vouchsafe freedom to your weary servant. Mourn me not, for I welcome the release. At long last, I am free of eternity, of infinity, free of the cruel, unending ring.
And this, my friends, is how Yulgar the dwarf accepted his fate as the Arisen and became the almighty creator. I sat on the throne and went to see my own homeland. Everything seemed normal, except for me. I was invisible to the human eye. They couldn't notice me at all. I was in control of the whole world without anyone knowing of my existence. Not even the innkeeper. I sat at my throne again, and this time I wanted to go check Grand Soren, but it was all the same. Just as a ring lacks start and end, so this world has no origin, no final terminus. I will be a prisoner of an unpassing time, wandering an unending land, but nothing lasts forever. Not even the previous seneschal, which can only mean one thing. I won't as well. Even if I play the role of the creator of this world. We are all born to die and be born again in an endless rhythm. I don't want to live like this, surrounded by loneliness and no goal whatsoever. I've always had new goals to achieve, and now I think I have only one goal in mind.
Open your eyes!
Master!
It is you, isn't it? Of course it is, I'm sorry. You just seem changed. But I suppose it isn't you who's different. It's everything else. And you who changed it.
And this is how my story ended. It was never about me taking my heart back. It was about me proving myself and passing the Seneschal's test so I could take his place and continue this endless cycle of rebirth. But one question still lies unanswered. Were we able to end it by killing ourselves and not letting a future Arisen do it instead? Will there ever be another Seneschal? And what happens next? I have no clue. But what I do know is that I thank you. Thank you for making it till the end and experiencing this journey with me. It was a pleasure playing this game and making this video. If you enjoyed it as well, please make sure to show it down below. And I shall see you all on our next journey.